Hello.
Hey Mark, how are you?
How's it going?
Going good. I wanted to show you something I have set up on my computer here, and this is why I asked you about the USB drives. It's kind of nice, and especially since you're going to be hitting the road here, this is a great way to travel with your data, and that way you, if you don't want to or if you don't need to, have to carry around even a laptop. But let me share my screen with you here. So you're going to probably want to full screen my my window. Hold on, let me figure out how to do this again. All right, here we go.
Will the display image change?
Yes. Do you got it?
Okay. It's loading right now. I just switched to big screen and it's loading, so
Okay.
it's doing something. Yeah, there we go. I see domino effect screenshot.
Yeah, I'm just watching it right now. Well, I have it paused while I'm talking to you, but
Yeah, right now.
yeah, good so far. I missed it my feed. I've been subscribed to you for quite some time, so I don't know how this will run under the radar, but I think that's becoming a more common occurrence.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. It's been pretty rough lately. Like I met a lot of resistance electronically online before I left. With like attempting to upload the video and update the websites and all that stuff. The internet got cut off at my home for 4 hours. I was trying to log back on and use other means, but I couldn't go and use another person's computer because everything is on my computer. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it was very hard to do that. But then when I'm uploading the video to make the announcement, I was all packed and ready to leave. The internet got shut down. The video didn't upload. So that's when I started to begin to see that they're trying to shut me down for this. Even the night before, the video program that I used to make all documentaries that I made, Windows Movie Maker, all of a sudden stopped working with that video that I made, the March of Freedom announcement. I posted online, but every time I would try to convert it with the old program, it was showing up as a black screen on there. So I've been documenting all this along the way, and I've had to install Sony Vegas to make the videos along the way. So I have a video editing program. So I had to do that the night before and all that. So it took a while to get that program installed and working and learn how to use it. So I had to make sure that I had a video editing program before I left, right?
Oh yeah.
So that was really important. But yeah, everything I was trying to do before I left, they kept trying to shut me.
That's interesting. You might be suffering from a local attack, is what it sounds like. I mean, if your internet's down, but also other programs are malfunctioning, that's what happens for adversaries against the status quo, the state, whatever you'd like to call it. I'm sure by many organizations, especially ones with a lot of influence, power, and resources, you are an adversary. So, and they do just these types of attacks to. What they call it disrupting communications. Whatever information you're trying to relay or you're trying to have in real time, they have tools to disrupt that to make it harder to get the word out. So they don't necessarily come double tap you anymore. They just they disrupt your comms, and it's up to you to try to circumvent that. On that note, what I wanted to show you is my basic setup on my PC. This is something I recommend to a lot of activists because with how I have it set up, I have a USB stick that I run basically most of my programs on. If you look at my window now, I just popped up a little menu that comes from the tray bar of any Windows operating system, and I have a number of applications I run: Password Manager, Skype, Thunderbird, which is the email client. The Tor browser, for browsing anonymously, something if you haven't used much of now, I would recommend using on the road. It just it can be beneficial in many different ways. FileZilla for transferring, Chrome. So all these very popular programs that are generally free, open source, or of that nature. Firefox, most programs that most people use. I'm sorry?
Yeah, it sounds like you're breaking up there. The call's kind of choppy.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Here, let me get closer to my mic. Am I any clearer?
Yeah, it's clear, but it's just cutting out. It's getting all robotic sounding and starting to cut out a little bit.
Oh, I gotcha.
Maybe we're being listened to. I don't know, but
yeah, it's possible. Monitor.
Yeah, for sure. So that Facebook getting shut down was that was pure blatant them pinpointing me and shutting me down because I have a video of it all. I took a video of the messages that I was getting. It said that I was hacked, and for my own security, my profile had to be removed. And I was like, okay, well, here we go. So I tried to get through a security process and do the security checks for that, and they're all set up so that if I do submit an answer, it's the wrong answer, and it would shut my profile down. They're asking me a security question that I never submitted, or that I do not know the answer to. Like I know the answer to it, but it's something that I would never have chosen to use as a security check password, like a security question.
Gotcha.
So that's
Can't
one.
get past that.
That's another fishy thing. And then I've been trying to tag people's faces, like it says, choose 5 photos to pick who these people are. And so I got a video of that too. They're showing me cartoon pictures. They're not even real people's faces that I would know. They're just cartoon images of people, and I'm like, and it's a strange cartoon actually. If you look at it, the cartoon character almost looks a little bit like me. It's very weird that they're doing this kind of thing to try to stop me from getting access to that account again. So
you said you got screen captures of this. Did you post it online?
No, not yet. It's I just put it on the computer there from my mobile phone. I've been documenting everything with my iPhone camera, and I also have the webcam on my laptop, so I use both of those for documenting things. So I do have it on the mobile phone. It's just I got to transfer it. It's been transferred to my laptop, so now I just got to upload it onto YouTube.
Well, very sharp of you.
It's another obstacle that I got to try to.
What you can do with that is if you upload that on YouTube, you could post that on different forums and ask people to look at what's going on there and see if they can clue you into what's happening, because there may be some people out there within the general public that know about state-sponsored attacks versus just regular hacking, good hacking, and maybe the source of the attack and things of that nature. So if you could put it out there, it'll give people a way to analyze what you're talking about and perhaps help you find out what exactly is going on.
Yeah, I should actually upload that video tonight if I can.
Sure, like and you don't have to do it on your primary Howitt channel, although, with the amount of subscribers, it'd probably be a good idea because you would appeal to a lot of people.
Yeah, that's why I chose to do this. Totally. That's why I chose to do this actually too, because I know that there's a lot of people that are subscribed and they are like watching what I've been doing and stuff like that. So I know that if I did get silenced, there'd be enough people out there that know what I'm about and know what I'm doing, that they would know why I was taken out or why this is happening. And now that my Facebook is down, it kind of shows people like that's happening, and it's good because a lot of people know who I am, and I do have a lot of friends in my Facebook, so they're all talking about it now, and they're all wondering what's going on.
Well, it's good to keep a profile active like that, so the people are in tune to what's going on and could help out if something goes wrong ever.
For sure.
And on that note, so that's why I want to get you hooked up with some privacy encryption software for your email, because come to find out that's actually working for people now. The downside to it is, just like you're experiencing with your video editing programs, there are also attacks that you could do locally on someone's computer to circumvent the encryption to effectively get the message, but you make them work for it and it becomes more obvious, and so therefore it brings a little bit more transparency or light to what's actually going on in this era of cyber warfare, information warfare. So this is a very real thing that goes on now. Exactly.
It's total cyber. It's they got us all on lockdown. They got everything about us. Facebook is a way to track your life from whenever you sign up.
I was almost wanting to say that the fact that you're getting pushed off Facebook may be a good thing, because just considering how much of a Stasi tool it is.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, it is the most effective social networking tool on the internet, which is why I use it for that purpose. But they don't want us using it for that purpose. They don't want us to network. They're fine with you having your own personal profile and doing your own thing on it. But as soon as you start networking with other people and trying to gather people together for a certain cause, especially if it's against the government or anything like that, they'll definitely shut you down. They got ways to do it. So
that's right. Well, hey, let me give you a walkthrough on my process here, and if this looks appealing to you, it shouldn't be too much trouble to set this up, but I think demonstrating this for you just on a live screen might really kind of show you better than I could ever explain. So let me close everything I have here down, and let's see. Oh, no, I'll keep that running. I'm saving my audio for a cast. And let's cut that down. And let's see, don't need any of this. All right, so and then I'm going to go ahead and close all these programs down here. Ooh, maybe if I lose you, you're going to know why here. It's because this is shutting down, but
okay.
As a matter of fact, I don't have to do this step right here. So what you see on my screen right now is, well, first let me show you my programs. I do use some programs here, but these are programs that aren't necessarily in portable format that I could use on my thumb drive. So these are my Windows installed programs. There's a few of them, but one of them is a TrueCrypt one that I have selected here. And this is the program box. It's just an encryption program you use on your computer, and you use it to encrypt devices such as a USB drive. And right here I have my USB drive. So if I just, after I type in my password to decrypt it, and I'll just decrypt, let's see. Let's dismount this one. And after you set up a password, the only thing you do to decrypt it is this little screen comes up and you just and it pops up right there. You click it and then it just opens up like an external hard drive. But when you dismount it, if anyone gets that hard drive or has access to that data, they won't be able to see what's actually on it. So that's effectively how it works. So my thumb drive here, this is what my thumb drive looks when I open it up. If I just go to my computer and pull up my thumb drive, bam, it's just a start exe desktop, all this stuff, and then documents and portable apps folder. Well, when I start it, it launches this portable apps application that runs down here in your taskbar, and you just click it, it'll open it up, and it looks just like basically your Windows thing right here, very similar. And it sorts everything, by what's most frequently used. And I use a thing called PureBlock that blocks government, universities, malicious websites, and things like that. And that's only really effective if you use like BitTorrent or file sharing programs. You want to use such protection as PureBlock. But basically everything runs right off this. And if you don't have a password manager, this would be handy for Facebook, considering some of the problems you have there. You just open up your little password database here. Oops, if you remember the password right. Oh, take off caps lock. Okay, and you have basically, you can store all your passwords for all different types of accounts here. And you can make them, let me show you the password generator here. You can make them as strong as you want.
It's frozen up, I think.
Oh.
I think the screen's frozen up because I'm not seeing any movement or any new things opening or anything like that.
Okay, what's the last thing you saw? Hello?
It says TrueCrypt on there.
Oh boy, yeah, so it's froze up. Here, let me disconnect it real quick, and I'll reconnect. I'll stop sharing.
Okay.
And then let me make sure I don't have anything else. Actually, let me.
Yeah, I can see how that would help for sure.
I'll take my PureBlock off. Here we go.
Oh yeah, this sounds better of your voice too now. The call and everything, it's a lot more clear.
Yeah, it takes a little less bandwidth. So do you have do you got my screen now?
It's loading right now. It says internet connection problem. I think that's on your end.
Oh, really? I have like a 3 megabit up and like a 60 megabit down. I'm let's see. Let me test this real quick. Check this out. You can do the same if you go to speedtest.net right now.
You can test the speed of your connection.
Yeah, and it's just a little browser thing. If you can see mine, you can see basically what's going on here.
Right. No, there's nothing showing up on the screen right now. It might be mine though. That's pretty slow.
Holy shit! I actually have more than 100 megabits down. That's huge. That's in fact that's what the meter red line's at. I don't think you could. And my upload is 5 megabit. Am I gonna hit 5? 5 megabit upload. Oh, that's killer. Do you still not have my screen? Didn't pop up yet? No screen.
Something. Wait. Yeah. Something's there. A clock. The speed test is up right now.
Okay. Do you see this? I got my download is at 100 megabits per second right here, and my upload is at 5. That is, I mean, it keeps going up. This is like every couple months I get like an extra 10 megabits per second. And my ping time is beautiful, 18 milliseconds.
Yeah.
I wish I was 10 years younger and I still gamed. I used to do like a Doom and Quake and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And, back in those days, this would have been great.
Yeah.
Okay, so I guess you got my screen now. Do you still have? All right. Yeah. So walking through this again, basically all your programs load off once you start. If you go back to TrueCrypt where I left off, if you pull up the Windows Explorer, you have basically this setup, and you have the Start exe. Once you double click the Start exe, this program starts and runs, and it has a list of all the programs you have installed on it, and it's easy. It's actually easier to install a program using the portable apps thing. You just come here and you get more apps by category. Than it is to go to a website and download an application for Windows. So it's so simple. I mean, if you look here, it just has the apps, and all you do is you check whichever one you want, go to next, and it just installs it for you. So, and the nice thing about this, so on the USB drive, I can encrypt the USB drive, and if I ever lose it, all the contents can't be discovered by anybody, and all of my programs run on it. So the significant thing is I don't have to have my laptop to have all my passwords with me. I don't have to have my laptop for emailing, for Skype, or for browsing the internet. I could just have my USB stick and put it in anybody's computer and have not only access to those programs, but all of my own data on those programs. Here's my email.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, so it's much more secure than just keeping it on your laptop, because even with malware and spyware on computers, these scan your C drive. Now, it's not that it's terribly difficult to scan a thumb drive either, but when you're putting another layer between what they have to look for and what you actually have, they have to get your drive letter right, and then since it's encrypted, they're still not going to be able to pull the files off without it being in a decrypted format. Therefore, it'll be unreadable.
They'd have to do a lot more work to get into it for sure.
So if you have the opportunity to set this up, all you really need is a blank USB drive. I would recommend getting maybe a USB 3 drive. You can find them for about $20. At most stores they're not the fastest, but even if you have a blank USB 2, putting this software on it and running it, because it makes things much more streamlined and convenient, and it's free and it's open source, so you don't it's audited by third parties for security. It's portable. I can't say enough good things about it, but it's great for activists. And then as far as the email, you got to get set up on PGP, because the thing is people may want to contact you securely with preserving their identities and their contacts. And there's 2 programs to use for that. There's an add-on that do you ever use Thunderbird, the email client, or do you just use web-based?
No, just Yahoo.com.
Yeah, well, Yahoo's bad because they share with the governments. Canada is just as bad as the United States as far as complying with data warrants from court. So if you use a program and you save all of your messages locally instead of keeping it on the web servers, they won't have anything to look for. Of course, they could intercept the transmission, the communication, but if it's encrypted, they won't be able to make anything of it. And there's also even ways to preserve the receiver and senders using another email program, which is somewhat newer but much more effective in preserving anonymity, and that's BitMessage. It's built off the BitTorrent client in the way that it works, so everyone gets everyone else's messages, but the only people that could actually read the messages, because they're all encrypted using strong encryption, is by having a key that is generated for you automatically when you initially set up the program. So in fact, if you don't use cryptography with your regular email, it's probably the preferred way to securely communicate with people, because there's very few setup procedures to have very secure communication. So I'd recommend that over PGP from your point of view, from not using any encryption at all.
Yeah, I was never too concerned about the security of my computer. Like if people like the government or whatever want to see what I'm doing, obviously it's an invasion of privacy. I totally understand that, and but I knew, like, as soon as you sign those forms, when you sign up to Facebook or YouTube or whatever, you're pretty much giving them permission. Like, nobody ever reads that stuff, but you're pretty much giving them permission to do whatever they want with your profile. And everybody signs the same document, so we all have given up our rights to have these places check it and stuff like that. And I just I don't know, they know what I'm doing regardless, because I'm going to be posting it online and stuff like that. So it was never really a concern of mine to like really high tech my computer and skills to keep myself encrypted or anything. So that's why I never really did that before I left. So.
Well, I think the goal for you is really to keep your communications secure as far as your passwords and things like that, because what you're finding out from your Facebook, maybe if you had a here, let me cut off the video feed here because it's just okay. Do I sound any clearer?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
For you, the problem is keeping your password secure and keeping your online account secure, and that's evidenced by Facebook and the things that you've had a problem there. If you have like a problem like KeyPass that I use on my computer, I can create and store passwords with 100, 200, as many character lengths as I want, and include high levels of entropy. So that as far as cracking passwords and setting up authentication passwords, I can make them completely complex and non-redundant and preserve my logins and things like that. So there's some tools that, even though that you're not concerned about preserving privacy, you might want to use for security purposes as far as keeping your communication secure.
Well, privacy is key. Like, I don't want it is disturbing that the government can do record and track and store all the conversations on Facebook and emails and every other social media website out there. Like, that's obviously a concern of mine, which is also why I'm doing what I'm doing to spread awareness about issues like that. Just how there's an out of control government that's using their power, and the corporations and military and intelligence services, all that stuff. They're all in bed together, working together to do what they're doing, and that's why we're seeing all these problems in the world, right? There's wars, there's corruption, there's lies. Media's used to make us believe in lies. So there's no truth in a world of lies, that's for sure.
That's absolutely right. And there's many cyberpunk activists or free internet freedom activists or cyber activists, however you'd like to call them. There's many names, but they always suggest using privacy tools, even though you may not need it, especially in your case because you're such a high profile figure in the work that you do. But there is an objective of maybe using like the Tor browser just for as much browsing as possible, which is basically everything besides YouTube. And the reason is because what you want to do is you want to make the analysis information that you do put out there irrelevant for them to analyze, because they have all these, so they can't make any sense out of it. And also you help other people who are really trying to preserve, maybe activists or on a lower profile who are trying to preserve their anonymity. You're enabling them even more by adding to the pool of irrelevant data that they would actually have to sift through to find their targets. So, of course, there's good and bad people who use it, but at the end of the day, it's about freedom of information, about being able and having the technologies to freely communicate and supporting that by any means necessary. Because as much as I understand a need for some national security, I think the need for freedom of information trumps that by far. Because if you don't have free information, you don't know what you're securing yourself against or for what reasons, and it just becomes an irrational process without the freedom of information.
Yeah, for sure, certainly. That's the problem, right there. Is they are trying to get as much information off us as we can, and they are using whatever means possible, and without being able to connect and share information with each other. That's probably their number one priority online for social stuff and cyber stuff is definitely to cut off connections between certain people so they don't network, they don't meet, they don't connect, emails don't get sent, stuff like that.
Mark, so I got to tell you, I think you're absolutely right about it, because if you couple that with the overbearingness and just the exhaust throughout the mainstream media to drive their narratives, and you compare that to how they try to diminish truth or how they try to stifle truth to power coming out, you really do see that effect, in that they work in tandem. Is that they try to they stop the truth from coming out, and then at the same time increase the volume of the lies through their official mouthpieces. And that's really the Berlin Wall of information you have to overcome, is the social engineering that's on the grand scale that's out there. Because unfortunately, with the mass populace, what drives their social behavior is what they see on mainstream media, and they're not so because there's a huge dependency on technology and on the state these days. They are less apt to think independently and go outside the conformity to form their opinions and get more information. And the ones that do that are just really more of the revolutionaries or the visionaries, or the people more outside the box. But that's terrible, because information, the more free it is, the more free the society is. And for anyone who wants to believe that we live in a free and just society, you have to adopt the principle of freedom of information. That those go hand in hand, and without one, you don't have the other.
Yeah, there can't be freedom without freedom. That's for damn sure.
Right, and they like you to think otherwise.
Yeah, exactly. They want us to think that that we're not free, that there is limitations to this life, that there is a box that we're confined to. But a lot of people now are starting to see that box was something that never really existed in the first place. It was all just a mirage or an illusion set out by the government and corporations to keep us in place, to keep us working our jobs and supporting their system that they created. And more people are saying, no, I don't want to support this. And they're getting outside of that box, and they're seeing life. They're seeing the grand scheme of things, which is larger than a box. It's more like a spherical shape, not a box.
Well,
really.
It's multidimensional, for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I noticed you had a fractal on your screen there, so that's cool.
Oh, I'm a big fan of the Mandelbrot set. Yeah, it's beautiful to look at.
Awesome. Indeed, it is.
The thing is Orwell kind of had it right, is that they control a lot of people through language, and that goes back to the overbearingness of the mainstream media. But they turn words and freedom into slavery, and literally effectively people operate under that under those language parameters. The language gets bastardized so much that the scary word anarchist is feared, while freedom is revered, when it's really slavery. And it's just it's their whole control over language. And if you can control someone's language, just like you can with a computer, if you can control the language of a computer, you can hijack the computer. Isn't that what a virus is? It's just introducing language into the system that gets it to betray its client or its user. And that's, of course, identified as malicious malware, or is what we call it in the computer terms. But there is really no good term for it on a social operating system. On social operating systems, the same thing happens with injection of mal-language or mal-logic into the social platform, a sociological ecosystem, and it goes unchecked. There is no malware. There is no antivirus for the monopoly of the state. And I think that's something you pointed out so great in the intro to your video. It's government is the problem, a state of control.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally. You said it right there. You nailed the nail right on the head for sure. That's what it is. They've injected a virus into our society, and it's grown. And most people are part of the virus. They are the virus, and they don't even understand it. They don't realize that they're the reason, that they're the solution. They're the cure, but they're also the virus by their own outlook on life and their own actions that they take on a daily basis. And that's what I'm finding on this walk across Eastern Canada is people are. They don't know that they're actually contributing to this, and they're okay with it because they don't know about it. So as soon as they know about it, you kind of see their facial reaction change instantly in there, because you see the light come on in their head, and it's a cool process to be walking, to be talking face to face with people, to actually see them open up to this new reality that they've never thought about before. It's
Mark,
really
with
cool.
Your March, it reminds me of like an antivirus or like malware bytes that, when you install those programs on your computer, whenever you do get a virus, it sends you an alert saying, hey, look, this is a malicious line of code, and what do you want me to do? Quarantine it. And so when you go on your march here and you talk with these people at these seminars that you're doing, it's kind of like you're a walking antivirus program. And when they wake up, when you see that change in their facial expression, that's almost like the alert coming to them saying, look, you have a worm virus on your computer. I'm not sure how familiar you are with nomenclature with types of viruses, but a worm is a type of virus that spreads itself peer-to-peer. It finds other people's systems that you're connected to. And that's exactly what the state does. The malware of the state is what I call it. And it spreads peer-to-peer like that. And it originates from a honeypot, which is known as the K-12 educational system. That's where the source of the virus is. But it's circulated and perpetrated through adulthoods and through the rest of our lives, because it goes unchecked and no one like you comes around and sends the alert to the user saying, hey, look, you have a piece of mallogic here. You may want to quarantine this and maybe delete it, modify it, or do what you need to do to stop your personal system from maliciously running. I mean, I think metaphor is great in that sense. Awesome.
Yeah, that metaphor is perfection at its finest, for sure. I'm definitely going to have to explain that to people too, and be on the way, because that's a good way of connecting them with the reasons why I'm doing this and stuff too. You know, it's like we're all a computer and we've been infected by a virus and we got to get it out.
I'm very influenced by Marshall McLuhan, one of your fellow men up there.
Who's that? Marshall McLuhan?
Yes, I'm very influenced by him. He actually had a cute little saying. He says, well, the proof of that metaphors exist is inherent. Otherwise, what is a metaphor?
Yeah.
And you know, that there's meaning beyond just a word. And so but yeah, I really think connecting people through metaphors, because if you go in the technicalities of it, like Mark, you know, with Mark's show, Mark Stevens and his No State Product show, it's highly technical. And I think what really helps people out is using metaphors to explain, you know, what's going on, because not everyone understands the legal system if you just start using legalese and go into a discussion. But if you use metaphors to how you know things are actually operating and exposing the gun in the room, as Stefan Molyneux would say, then it's easier for people to see and use that information. And what Mark's been able to do is, you know, along with myself, is get other people who are not even lawyers, who are just going into court pro se or pro per, and getting them to ask questions of evidence and getting tickets and cases dismissed out of court because the state can't provide their evidence. Much like Galileo, you know, he went to court. He was persecuted because he advocated, you know, evidence over dogma. And, you know, he in the long term prevailed, but he had such a long and hard struggle, you know, most of his life with the church and trying to get the evidence out on the table for people to base their decisions off of, effectively changing how we understand our solar system. But the same thing is going on is when you go into court and you ask, you know, and I do have something of an obligation to explain this too before you come on the show. This is the basis of his show, is that you could go into court and you can ask them for evidence jurisdiction. And when you stick to the facts, they can't answer that question because they can't produce evidence of jurisdiction. Jurisdiction, you have to have certain facts. It can't just be arbitrary. And the thing is what they want you to believe is the fact that you simply exist, that you are within certain boundaries, is a factual explanation of jurisdiction. It simply isn't. It's just an opinion that because you're in those boundaries, that they do have jurisdiction.
Yeah, and then the legal system gets you to agree to it, and that's what binds you in, really, is your agreeance and your compliance to the legal system itself. And that's another reason too why. Yeah,
and there's also agreeance, because to agree to something there has to be a valid contract, and for a valid contract there's 4 elements, one of which is a meeting of the minds. And the meeting of the minds means that both parties agree to the terms. And when it comes to government, did you agree? No. Did I agree? Absolutely not. And so it's an implied contract, but it's on it. If you analyze it and examine it, it's invalid. It just doesn't meet all the 4 elements to comprise a valid contract.
And that's why they don't teach you law in school, like from when you're young until pretty much you reach high school, and then it's optional, so you don't have to take it. But law is what binds this world. Like, each country has its own laws. And that's such an important thing that people should know about, but it's omitted from the school system. Same with along the same lines as taxes. They don't teach you how to do your taxes in school. You can take math for many years, and they very, very little focus on taxes unless you're doing like extracurricular or advanced studies on math. So they try to omit all this stuff from you so that when you do get out in the world, you're struggling and you get all caught up in this and you don't know how to use it, and then they'll manipulate you and use that to their advantage, really.
You've injected a little bit of humor in my epiphany, because the funny thing is that they do teach you so many useless things. I mean, with some of the electives that I took in high school, you know, and in the meantime, they leave out some of the most important things because they do not teach you much about law at all. But when you become an adult, all of that applies to you. So the things that you need to know about the most, they don't touch at all. There is not a single. I don't think as an elective in most just average public schools, there aren't even law-based electives. Even if you wanted to, out of your own, ambition, wanted to study the law, there's really no good resources within the public education system to do so, and especially so on that basis. So it's it's just funny. Go ahead.
I don't really know anybody personally that's ever wanted to be a politician. You know what I mean? They don't want to grow up to be a politician. But talking with all these people that I've talked to so far, I always ask them, like, what do you want to be? Like, what would you want to be in your life if you didn't have to pay for an education? You could just be what you want to be trained, have the proper training, get your job, and you could be whatever you want, and there's people all out there that say, oh, I want to be a server at a restaurant, or I want to be a mechanic, I want to be an artist, I want to be a musician, I want to be a programmer. There's all these different interests in what people want to be, and a lot of them aren't even there because they went to school, they waste their money, and then they have to get a job that doesn't relate to their field to pay off the school bills. So they're caught in this vicious cycle, right? And so people aren't really getting the jobs that they really want to be. And then they say there's a need for doctors, there's a need for lawyers, there's a need for this and that, even though there's lots of people that want to fill the position, but the monetary system and the blocks that the law puts out makes it harder for people to actually do what they want to do. But I don't know anybody that said they want to be a politician. So these people are probably put into place because I'm sure people do go to school to learn about this kind of things, but they might even be told to do so by their families and friends and peers. But I don't really know anybody that said that they want to be a politician, because that's it's
I think the
interesting.
occupation of politicians comes from the same drive that people want to become car mechanics or something like that. Is that politicians, all they see is problems, and they think their idea to fix a problem is good and good enough to go ahead and serve for public office. That's the only motivation I think a lot of people have to go into politicians. There are a few. Actually, I don't know if it's few. It may be a good even split 50-50. But there is a faction of politicians that go in just for the power hunger, just because they want to exercise the power, and so that is recognized, and those are just your general psychopaths. Now, the ones that become politicians are just the clever ones. They didn't go and hack someone up, on a murder rampage. They just do it in something called a war. They wage wars, but it's the same thing. It's the same irrational logic that a psychopath would have, So it's
it's apathy. For sure, they're apathetic people, for sure, and it's contagious.
And the problem with politics is it affects all of us, but the thing is, it devoids people from empathy, because a lot of notice so many politicians are lawyers, and to be a lawyer, you have to forfeit your empathy, because you have to be, quite literally as part of training, you have to be able to argue both sides of the case, even though you may morally disagree with it, and that's part of their official law school training. So you devoid yourself of empathy. And then when you start to see problems and your solutions are the best, but your solutions don't come about so easily, perhaps you may be more inclined to create a problem where your situation fits better, and therefore you become president. And that's where all these false flags come from. Is it these politicians, they find, well, if I can make the problem and I could bill myself as a savior or the person with the answer to these problems, that's the way to do it. And this is something that they write, in their white papers, a lot, the PNAC document is Rebuilding America's Defenses is one that comes to mind, about how they talk about what they need and what they need to happen to get it. And then lo and behold, look what happens, and look at the investigation, how unobjective it is, and how, corrupt it was. And, we can put the pieces of the puzzle together. Of course, there isn't any official commissions, but the puzzle speaks for itself.
Yeah, totally. They're the author and the editor. That's what that is, right? They're making the stuff and editing it and putting it out, making sure that it's all in line. They're making the problems, giving us a solution for the problem, and most people, they just bite on hook, line, and sinker and take the bait, and that's what they want. And that's the herd mentality. The media is perfect for that. That's their arm for that kind of thing. So. But at a certain point,
I do understand that it's just job security, and I don't even blame them for it. I mean, anyone who holds a real job, they do what they can to keep their job there, and sometimes they do it unethically, even when it's not even in government business. But with governments, there's nothing ethical about it, and like every job, it's simply about job security. So I understand their rationality for keeping what they consider necessary around, them calling it national security, and them sacrificing whoever and whatever in whatever numbers they can to keep that idea of the nation alive. But It's just simple job security at the end of the day when it comes, to put it in layman's terms. These politicians, they have job security. They will do whatever they can to achieve job security. And that's why you never see programs ever get repealed, that's just the nature of the beast, as it said. And the thing is something I've kind of had a personal epiphany about is democracy. A lot of people, we went from the Revolutionary War, at least here in America, where we fought for freedom. No one fought in the Revolutionary War for democracy. They fought for freedom. That's what they all went charging with the words in their mouth was freedom, not. So, and the thing is now it's about spreading democracy, with these imperialistic wars. But the question has to be asked: is democracy an end, or is it really a means to an end? Is it something that we should always be striving for, or should we evolve beyond democracy and find better ways to govern each other?
We need to evolve.
And democracy is really a problem because it extracts empathy out of the equation. Democracy is helpful if we still lived in the 1600s, but it's 2013. And democracy is really more of a force of oppression than it is a force of liberation these days. And it's important to think beyond democracy, beyond just giving someone a voting right, but giving them something more direct and more empowering, because we live in a different time where that is possible, and it can be peacefully achieved. And that's the thing is, government made sense when people were killing each other for the smallest conflicts, but you don't have that anymore. Resources are not as scarce. Although there is some scarcity, it's not as scarce as it used to be, and you don't have to kill each other. And we should evolve beyond democracy as far as sociological policies.
Yeah, for sure. And like one major thing too is sorry, I'm just having a gap here for a minute. One thing is that I've noticed too along the way is people think that there is no other way, but there is another way, and it's exactly like you said. It's an outdated way to live. We're living in a new world now where people believe that the whole world's going to end. It's going to be violence. It's going to be chaos and fear and stuff, which is what they want. That's why it's programmed into the movies and the television shows.
Absolutely.
You have the Survivor shows where people are trying to go survival mode on their bug-out bags and make sure they got enough to survive off it. And that's a way to instill fear. But the thing is, what I'm noticing as talking face-to-face to people is if things did really hit the fan, we would work together and make sure that we overcome the problems as a community globally, using networking that we have, the internet and such, to overcome these problems. That's what would happen.
That's exactly it. Because look what happened with your Facebook. I mean, that's exactly the solution, and they know it, and that's what they're trying to disrupt.
Yeah, exactly. And we all want to work our jobs, which is what I was mentioning earlier. We all want to do something to contribute to the society. We all have different interests, so there wouldn't be job shortages. We would definitely have enough supplies. We'd be able to help people in Africa and other countries that don't have food and water. We would be doing it to keep the world alive and happy and maintained on a healthy level. But money and democracy and capitalism and all those things cause divisions, and they make it impossible to reach this new point of living that I think we need to reach. So that's one thing I'm promoting along the way, big time, is a new way of looking at life and the world, government, politics, corporations, everything all together. You know what I mean? So it's been quite a journey hearing other people's opinions on this and stuff, and it's really helping me actually to understand things more as well. Because I plan on talking to Stephen Harper when I get to Ottawa. I'm going to attempt to meet with him and speak with him about the issues that I've heard across Canada when I'm meeting people. And I'm doubting he's actually going to allow me some time to speak to him. But I'm documenting it all for this reality show, and people will see that he didn't want to talk to me, and they can think he's a coward for that or whatever they want. But I just want to do what I can to make this as real as possible. You know what I mean?
Mark, I don't want to. Can I ask you about Stephen Harper? Have you ever had any contact with Bridget DePape? Do you know who I'm talking about?
No.
Oh my gosh. 3 years, maybe 2, 3, 4 years. It's been so long. It's down the memory hole now. But
Bridget that posted "Stop Harper" the sign.
Yes, that's her.
Okay, yes.
She's. I mean, I would love to get in contact with her and interview her about that. But she sounds, looks like a friend up there as well as far as civil disobedience. And I watched plenty of interviews with her because she made the rounds in the media after doing that, and she was very vocal about civil disobedience and speaking up against what you think is wrong, and she sacrificed her job, although it was just a page. but she she had some cojones, and she manned up and she did what she needed to do to make her opinion about freedom and peace heard, because it's not being heard within the government, and it's not being brought. The word of freedom and the word of peace is not coming through the government apparatus at all, and that's certainly the problem. And that's something I respect about what you're doing. You're calling it a freedom march, and I think that's solely, if there's one word to sum up the solution to the sociological ailments of today, it is freedom. It is plain and simple.
Yeah.
I would say it's voluntarism.
I'm not a slave. I just said I'm not a slave anymore. I got to get out of here and tell other people that they're not slaves either, that we've only been conditioned to be slaves and we are free. If we want us to be free, we just got to do it and work together and accept nothing else. We can't accept anything else, because if we did, then we wouldn't be free.
Mark, do you remember John Lennon's sign? Right? Do you remember John Lennon's sign? War is over if you want it. It's the same way with freedom. Freedom is here if you want it.
Yeah.
And the same line of logic.
Yeah, precisely. You said it. And John Lennon is an inspiration of mine. A lot of the people that I made documentaries about, like Martin Luther King, Robert Kennedy, Malcolm X. Those guys really taught me a lot too about how you throw a stone in the lake and it's going to cause a ripple no matter how small it is. And there's also Terry Fox. He walked across Canada. He died on the way, but he was raising money for cancer research to find a cure for cancer, and he was making the cancer industry $100,000 a day in donations and more, and that's an average that I read. So he was making these people billions and billions of dollars on his march, and I'm doing the same sort of thing, walking, but I'm promoting the opposite. I'm telling people that Terry Fox got ripped off. They used his life to make themselves tons of cash, even though they knew that there was cures out there that are natural, that they can't put patents on. There's so many natural cures out there for cancer to get rid of that illnesses that are natural, but these corporations won't put a patent on something that's from nature. So we're getting duped in that way, and that's another thing I'm going around spreading awareness of.
Awareness,
Rick
very
Simpson.
good.
Yeah, so it's Terry Fox was an influence of mine too, because he did try really hard to do what he was doing, but he didn't know about the cures. They withheld the information from him and all that stuff. So. And a lot of these cures actually are from Canada that I've noticed too, like Renee Case, Essiac. She's got she found out the cure for Essiac, and the government was looking at her, and they gave her a little clinic to operate, and she was curing thousands of people, and then they shut her down because they couldn't buy her medicine to sell and profit from. She said, "No, I'm giving it for free because if people are sick, they need to be healed," and they shut her down. And then there's Rick Simpson from Eastern Canada as well. He's been curing people with cannabis. Yeah, and he got shut down. So they've been shutting down people that have been curing people indefinitely from these illnesses. So that's another thing I'm promoting. I'm trying to promote as many issues as I can in one shot, rather than just focus on.
The list goes on too, because there's also the Gershon, Dr. Gershon. They had to move to Tijuana, or I think somewhere around Tijuana, Mexico, because they couldn't practice in the United States, but they were curing cancer and other disease by just putting people on a juice diet. Oh yeah, and people go there, and there's plenty of success stories. There are some failures, because not every disease is necessarily reversible through nutrition, depending on how aggressive the particular disease is. But it has worked for a lot of people, and that's enough reason to give it a try. And it works better than chemo and all the other traditional methods of treatment that we have today that are just, it's a monopoly solution. It's not even a solution born out of the free enterprise or free market they moan about. I sent you a link, by the way. I just a little research point. This is the link that you have there for the essay. It's an hour and 36 minutes long. But it's probably the hardest core hour and 36 minutes you'll spend about learning about the applicability of laws and the Constitution. Only second to Frederick Bastiat's classic book, The Law, which talks about how law is essentially legal plunder. But what Lysander Spooner here points out so succinctly is he goes through on an evidentiary basis how the Constitution does not apply to anybody. And it doesn't matter if you're from the United States or from any other nation. These constitutions are arbitrarily put upon these populations, and they're documents of slavery. They're not documents of freedom.
Using our corporate name instead of our real physical flesh body. I know that our parents sign the documents when we're born saying that we're property of the state pretty much, and anything financially, records, paperwork, all is connected to that. But we're not that, you know what I mean? We're not a piece of paper. We're not a piece of identification linked to a number where we get certain benefits by how much we work and put into it. It's pretty sad.
Mark would say, and this is a better way to frame that, is that there's no evidence of that, because the thing is that document is just that, a document, and I could write anything on a piece of paper and type it up and have you sign it. It doesn't necessarily mean it is what it purports to be. Yeah. It's just a piece of paper making a claim. And the thing is what Mark would say and what Lysander Spooner would say is they focus on evidence, because evidence should be key on what we make our decisions on. It goes back to the freedom of information. The more you know, the better prepared you are to go walk through life. The thing is that there's no evidence that those documents actually define or claim you are as they would like to define you as a citizen. But that's what they used against you all the time. And really the art in Mark's work is pointing that out in court, that there is no evidence. And unfortunately in court assertions have to be backed by evidence. And
thanks for letting me know that.
And when you have no evidence, the prosecutors really have to drop the cases. I'm sorry.
Yeah, thanks for teaching me that, because I knew that it was pretty much I knew that people have the documents and there is a separation between your actual person and the documents and all that stuff. But it's good that you told me that there's no evidence connecting that or connecting us to those documents and stuff. So that's really cool that you showed me that.
And the most important thing is that's what holds up in court too, because when you make that statement, when you frame it that way, then it makes sense to a lot of people. Well, yeah, if there is no evidence for something, why should we accept it? And it really it takes people out of it personally, because a lot of people have a personal involvement with their identification as a citizen or as a national, or a lot of people have a lot of identification issues with the states, whether it's their political party. And so when you put it outside of just personal belief and you bring in the element of evidence, well, then you're having a different discussion. It's not something that you could really put a bias on, because evidence is or it is not. It's not anything that's reliant on anyone's particular belief patterns. So it's really strong when you frame it that way.
Yeah. It's inarguable. You can't argue with evidence. It clearly shows what's going on, and that's what we've used throughout history to prove things, really.
Sure, I like Skype, I like my computer, I like my smartphone, and all that is based on principles that have evidence to support them. And if any of those were flaky, like politicians, they'll say two opposite claims at the same time and want to be accepted as a valid person. Well, if you had that with technology, the technology wouldn't exist. See, there's a certain value. The value for consistent principles is of the utmost in society. And if your principles are inconsistent, then they're worth nothing. They're not worth even being called a principle. Because, as Ayn Rand said, there are no contradictions. There's just mallogic.
Yeah, we shouldn't even be looking at those things in life. We should be looking at nothing like that in life. We should only be looking at what's real and what's here, like nothing figment of our imagination.
Back, because once you realize what is here and what should be concerned about, then you return to your empathy, and then you are able to act as a human being, and you won't have these problems that we cry about today will be, just they'll be lost in the wind, in the future, because we'll have solutions, and now as a society, we'll be able to think beyond just our problems and really discover not only who we are on the inside, but how we relate to the rest of the universe. And it's just it opens up a whole new discovery passage that's akin to John F. Kennedy talking about exploring space. It's really about exploring who we are on the inner side and also having that manifest outwardly.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, exactly.
So anyhow, I've talked your ear off, but that's a summation of where Mark's work is in our philosophy here on the show, and basically what we talk about every week. I'm waiting to hear back from Mark maybe in the next hour or so, and we'll hook up with JT and hopefully have a discussion. I really want to promote what you're doing, because I think what you're doing is the solution is really going around and talking to people. And politicians know that, when they really need to get elected, what do? They go door to door, and it doesn't work all the time, but it does, just like Ron Paul proved, it works in the court of public opinion. And really that's the objective, especially with what you're doing, is you want to get around and spread information to people and help them realize that they are free and how to live freely, not just, say you're free, but how to live free. And there's a huge difference and much more benefit to actually doing so.
And the more people that are thinking like that, that's what's going to take really is people need to just wake up one morning, I guess you could say, and just see the world for a different place. Like a lot of people right now think the world's a big crap pile, and they're really negative people. They're victims of the world, really. They're victims of the society, and I'm trying to show them that there is another way. You just have to see the world for a different place. We are all here as one species working together and helping each other out, and when you feel that you can't do anything and you feel powerless, then that's your reality. That will be your reality, right? So
that's absolutely right. People kind of view themselves as bricks in the wall, as Pink Floyd wrote about. So, but breaking that compartmentalization and really realizing your place. I mean, yeah, you may be a brick and wall, but the wall is part of you, and you are part of it. So it's good to know the other bricks. And right now they have us isolated arbitrarily by borders and boundaries that I think yourself, myself, and other people are breaking down.
Yeah, we are. And I know that you guys have been doing a good job in promoting this stuff, which is good. And like a lot of people are, and that's what's really helped wake people up, because there's a lot of people that I meet along the way that know about this stuff. They already know about it. And it's really cool to see that a majority actually of people that I talk to know that there's corruption in the world and there's better ways. There's free energy devices. There's all these things that out there. So it's really cool to see that people are pretty much ready, that they know with the knowledge, but now it's time for action. So that's why I took action and I'm doing what I'm doing. So
there's also something to be said for what type of action. A lot of people think when they hear take action, they think, oh man, I'm going to have to put my life on the line, my life at risk. But you don't necessarily have to. There are small little things that you do every day that you change that you wouldn't really notice, but actually go to helping the whole. And it's part of what I explained to you, like the Tor, using Tor for your browsing instead of just simply Firefox. But there's infinite number of things you could do. It doesn't have to be just that. It could be any number of things that you could do. And if anything, if you act as a repeater.
Just sitting there. Yeah, anything is better than just sitting there, though. That's a lot of people are just sitting there on the knowledge they know. But anything is better than just sitting there, like whether it be emailing a local representative, emailing a company to tell them they shouldn't be using GMO foods or products that are unhealthy for people, whether it be you see something on the news that's disturbing and you find it's not right, you want to email and discuss it, like raising our children properly. There's all sorts of things that we got to do, right?
What did Timothy Leary say? It was tune in, turn on, and drop out. I mean, it's simply the same thing as tune in to truth, turn on your humanity and your empathy, and drop out of the violent government system. It's the same kind of core principles there. He wasn't the original developer of that philosophy. It's something that's been echoed in different words throughout time. But there's always a time and a place to take up that type of action of abandoning or expatriating from your dogmatic beliefs and really accepting things in a different light. And hopefully the direction of that acceptance is made in validity and is made in truth in things that you can verify, and not accepting arbitrariness. I think John Locke, all of Western government is based off John Locke. And even John Locke himself said, look, for government to be valid, it has to be non-arbitrary. And for a government to be invalid would be an arbitrary government. And the thing is when you get down to it, just like with Mark and his questioning, when you find out that government is just based off arbitrary opinion or these documents that they want to say define us as a citizen, it's all arbitrary. So by their own definition, from what I can see, they are arbitrary and they are illegitimate. And so, if you accept things as they are, and if something arbitrary is invalid, then let's shed the arbitrary elements of our belief systems, and let's change ourselves and evolve to something that we can verify and that works for people, that's more peaceful. Because you know what? In Africa, something is not working for those kids or dying that you had in your video. And the thing is the question has to be asked, is there something that can work for them? And the answer is yes. They'd be less oppressed. The problem is in a lot of those totalitarian African states, they have warlords that control the regions for oftentimes Western interests, corporate interests, and they keep people in poverty. They live on a huge land, and even in the most hostile environments, we have technologies and resources to grow fruit and vegetables, and have livestock and create ecosystems, even in the worst environments. Yet that's stopped from being shared with people by all these arbitrary, boundaries, whether it be nations stopping us from traveling there, or whether it be, communication circumvention or resource sharing or anything like that from helping our worldwide brothers and sisters. Getting rid of the arbitrary borders and boundaries is key to helping other people out and seeing a better future.
Definitely. I agree. I agree totally.
And all by their own words, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So that's what's key, right? Show people what's right and what's wrong, and hopefully that it'll make a difference by the end.
Not everybody, but most people, you could trust them to make good decisions, and they have to have the information to make those decisions upon, and if you help them see what's arbitrary and what's not, which is one of the most obfuscated topics in society is categorizing things as arbitrary and non-arbitrary. A lot of people accept arbitrary belief systems without ever examining it, and if people could learn to examine and analyze these things, it would be harder for them to accept. Not that they wouldn't abandon it overnight or abolish it overnight, and nor would anyone want to, because it'd be more chaotic. But if incrementally we could start accepting more valid forms of helping each other out rather than arbitrary forms, then I think we're on the path to freedom and a robust and productive society. Like you said, people want to do things for other people's living. They want to pursue their hobbies and pursue their interests. And one man's hobby and what they pursue can help other people out. A lot of people really like developing alternative energy, and they do it as a hobby, not even necessarily to get paid tons of money. They just like doing it. And what they discover may liberate, a West African civilization, because they come up with some highly efficient energy device that allows them to get a large amount of work done with little human effort.
Yeah, exactly. And we're there now. We have the technology, we have everything, but there's certain interests out there that are stopping that from happening. So it's good to expose that for what it is, and so that people can see what's happening. And I like I said earlier, I think we're ready, because a lot of people I talk to know about these things, and they know what it takes to reach that level, but they're not doing it yet because there's not a lot of support from their peers around them. And obviously the government's not supporting that. The media is not discussing it. But if the media started discussing this kind of thing on a massive level, it would become trendy, like Pogs were when I was a kid, or like
yeah,
Marvel.
I remember
that. Yeah, so we got to make this kind of want for a change to become a trend almost. Like it's got to become the new mainstream thing where everybody's talking about it, everybody's involved in it, and I think it could happen. I think it's already starting a bit. I know more and more people are waking up and searching for alternative media outlets to find their information, because they are seeing that the arbitrary world, you know what I mean? So it's really cool to see the awakening and to be part of it. I think we're part of a pretty important time right now in our lives.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, people are finally learning to think for themselves independently instead of having to accept somebody else's way of living.
Yeah.
Is a basis of their own lives, and that's so sad. Is that's essentially what's being taken away from people's is their ability to control their own lives, and that's something maybe that was necessary to sacrifice to survive in the past, but in the future we can survive just fine without the arbitrary borders and boundaries that we have today. So the sooner we get rid of them and create more productive ways of doing the same thing, the better off we are.
It seems a lot of the problems only happened in the last 100 years or so. Like once technology really started booming and corporations set their grip and stuff, there's always been slavery and there's always been problems like that. But now that we're connected on a global level through the internet, and we all know we receive information and are learning at a higher pace, it's harder for them to keep that control now. So it's just a matter of time till it all gets all shook up and breaks apart. And it's up to us, the people, to figure out what to do with the pieces, I think, and we know how. We have the technology to do it, and there's enough people out there that are concerned, and I don't think that we're going to hit a state of anarchy, or not anarchy, but a state of chaos, I should say, like where everybody's destroying public property and killing each other just to get by. I don't think we're going to hit that. I think that we'd actually reach a state of love before that, like love and unity and respect and working together.
I think so. And Mark, that idea of anarchy where it's all chaos, I think that's something, again, I was talking about Orwell, how they bastardized the meaning of language in certain words. I think the on purpose created, put anarchy in a framework of violence and chaos so that anyone who thought about freedom through the lens of anarchy would also have that taint of violence and chaos. And so, I mean, look at how we have to put a disclaimer before the word before we use it, as if it was something bad. But the fact of the matter is, it is perceived as something bad, and it's just what we pointed out. It's that Orwellian practice that a lot of people deny is real, but there's evidence for it right there. Say anarchy in front of the general public and see how many people cringe, or how many people just assume it means chaos, or they link it to chaos. The very definition of the word has nothing to do with it. But again, the Orwellian influence is what perpetrates the nature of the word, chaos and violence and all this stuff. But yeah, I of course agree. I think that we will find love before we find chaos, and I think that's what they're afraid of, especially as time moves forward from now. I mean, the more technology evolves, the more people are able to talk to one another, the more this message is going to resonate. And the problem is it's a constructive message. It's not a destructive. Politics is destructive. There's a reason why people after election cycles feel exhausted. It's because it's a destructive process. Whereas freedom and real information is constructive, and it helps people live better lives. And there's going to be a point where, just like with marijuana, where more people realize that they're for it than against it, there's going to be an apex. There's going to be a nexus point where people realize that we could get rid of the violent nature of government and take the peaceful path, and we could live together without having to systematically kill each other through the vehicle of government. A lot of people think gangs are the only and mobsters are the only people who commit crimes, but no, government democide. Just like you had in your video with AJ. Democide's a very real thing, and they're the worst criminals. Exactly. So why don't we treat them as such, and not necessarily lock them up or commit violence against them, but at the very least ignore them and start living our lives freely like we should be doing, and we should have been doing all along. Getting a little bit of our dignity back.
Show people we need to show people the reality of the world, really, and we're doing it any way we can, and I'm not going to stop doing what I'm doing until I'm dead in the ground. That's all I know. I feel that it's my duty to do this, so I will never stop.
I share the same feeling.
Yeah, that's why we're connected right now, right? It was the powers that be brought us together, I guess.
That's absolutely.
Something under the sun brought us together.
The very meaning of life is purpose, and it's about and your role in it as an individual is just to put definition, to define that purpose the best way you see fit. But a lot of people are lost on what the meaning of life is. It's simply purpose, and it doesn't have to be any more complicated than that. I mean, we all live and die, and of course, death is a scary thought. But accepting that it's going to happen, you could embrace your purpose even stronger. So, I think once you become informed and you start to look at things objectively, I think purpose defines itself for you. It reveals itself to you, and that's where you find strangers who become friends along the same path in life. People who realize purpose in their own lives, they find each other, and just like in The Hobbit or with the Lord of the Rings series, people who are not essentially related by any other means other than their philosophies will find each other and defeat evil, even in the face of oppression and great surveillance. So I think it's the odds are in the favor of us, and it's inevitable, as Agent Smith would say, but only in a good way. I mean, love isn't inevitable. Deconstruction or politics or hate is always self-destructive. There's been plenty of stories that demonstrate this, and also beyond the stories, movies and stuff, you have personal experience. People who are driven by hate usually have short lives and don't really contribute much, while people who do things constructively are the ones who we remember even long after they're gone.
Yeah, they leave a legacy behind, I guess you could say.
Mm-hmm. And that's all about finding purpose and pursuing your purpose in the purest way that you find.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, indeed.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
But yeah, you're right about that for sure. But yeah, I'm not sure, like if you could set up like a bit of time for an interview, a radio interview or anything like that, that'd be really helpful too. Like I'll try to get on my Wi-Fi and get on there to connect so that I could be able to do that. But when I leave North Bay here, I'm probably going to be with very minimal internet access for quite a while, because the next stretch of highway, there's nothing really on it. There's a few smaller towns where there might be a Tim Hortons where I can get Wi-Fi, but it's I know there's a couple. But for the most part, I'm going to be away from internet connections and stuff like that. So
how long till you leave North Bay?
Well, I got pretty bad injuries on my feet. Like I sprained my ankle and there's some severe blistering going on, but that's pretty much healed up and I'm ready to walk. I took a walk yesterday and that was no problem. But right now I'm trying to get a cart so that I could put the weight of the supplies that I need into the cart. Like it's a bike trailer, and I'm just going to pull that rather than have the weight on my back pushing down on my ankles and feet, because that's what's causing the injuries. So I'm going to be picking that up here, and then I'm taking off once I have the cart loaded and get some extra supplies. And that probably be, I'm thinking tomorrow or the next day at the latest I'll be leaving.
Okay.
So
before you take off, for sure, I'd love to help you set up that USB deal so that when you are on the road, you will have a tool set. So even if you aren't able to break out your computer, you could jump on someone else's computer, like their tower. So if you can't connect to their Wi-Fi or something like that, you'll still be able to run a few core programs to keep you in better contact with those who you want to keep in contact with. And I'd love to help you set that up. It shouldn't take as long as it would be, if you're to do it on your own. And that way you keep in contact with everyone who you need to more frequently than you can now.
Yeah, that's cool. I thank you very much for offering to help with that too, because I'm not too skilled in that area of computer programming or anything like that. So any help is awesome, and I'm glad
I was able to get in touch with you. But before you took off, I guess by chance you sent me a message via Skype. We hadn't talked for months or connected over Skype. But yeah, you sent me that message, and luckily I was able to catch you before you took off, because once you're on the road doing something like this, it's just a bit harder. It's possible, and you'll have time, I'm sure, but it's nice to have done beforehand, and that way people keep in contact with you from start to finish, and it'd be a much more seamless and enjoyable experience.
Yeah.
So I'll get in contact with Mark. I sent him a few messages earlier. I'm still waiting for him to get back to me. He said he was going to be busy. I understand. But we were going to connect with JT. I sent him some links for your video, so he's familiar with what you're doing, who you are, and what you stand for. I sent him the link that you put on your march, about your march, and then also your latest video. Oh boy.
Yeah, thanks a lot. I'm trying to hand out copies of that. Yeah, I'm trying to hand out copies of Domino Effect along the way too on DVD, just to give people a copy so they can go home and watch it. It's a good way to spread awareness too. So.
Yeah, I guess so. I was going to say, what would be more cost effective and save you resources is maybe just giving a link to your YouTube. But the thing is when you give someone a physical disc, for some people, not all, but especially older folks who didn't grow up with computers like we did as much, they could just put that in their video player. You don't even need a computer for it and watch it. So yeah, I guess that is a good idea. But I would also, for kids, just give them links. They know YouTube, better than they know their DVD menu.
Yeah, like I've been doing that too. But like if I can get this cart, it's not too bad because it won't weigh too much to pull that. My main concern now is to get the weight off my back because I'm carrying a huge pack. It weighs so much. I think it's pretty much at par with military packs that I'm carrying.
I'm former Air Force. I know about that.
Definitely long distance. Yeah, it's pretty huge. But I'm trying to get this cart and then I've been getting donations too because there's a donations tab set up. So that's been helping me get food along the way and get some supplies that I need. I got new shoes because of that, like a new good walking hiking boots for that, and a new hiking pack too. So I've been getting a bit of supplies along the way, and I think that I could probably round up some blank DVDs around town here before I take off and make some copies. So that's on the list to do, just to get the info out there a bit more with the people I talk to.
Good deal. Yeah, I can't wait to hear back from Mark because I'd love to be able to promote this and hopefully also how long do you plan on being on the road and doing this? As long as possible, or as long as you have resources to do so, or do you have a time frame?
Until I reach the Atlantic Ocean. That's when I'm going to stop. But I'm not going to be walking on the 400 or 401 highway, which is near Toronto and up till Ottawa and stuff, because I had a friend die on the highway last year who's a fellow musician. I know that the police like to stop people and give them problems when they're on that highway. So I'm going to just link up a ride when I'm down there and get off my feet for a little bit, rest my feet. And I'm going to use that time when I'm down south to connect to Wi-Fi's and connect with people around and set up those seminar dates so that we can make pages for them so that people know about it. They know that there's a date picked and that I'll be there for that time. And then when I get to Parliament Hill in Ottawa, for the Prime Minister. It'll also give time to set a date for that, make a page for it, and try to promote it and get the word out there about it, so that when I am down south, I'll probably be down there for about a week and a half or 2 weeks after I announce those dates, just to let the time build it up for promotion and stuff.
Gotcha.
And so that people know where I am and stuff. So that when I get down to Barrie, that's the next big stop where I'm going to be stopping for a little while and networking a lot down there. I've got a couple interviews lined up and meeting certain people that I've talked to along the way or knew before that are really cool people, like ex-doctors and stuff like that are going to whistleblow on some things. So I'm looking forward to that.
Oh, very nice. Hey, so I got to say, what do you think is going to be the biggest milestone in your journey? Do you think Parliament's going to be it, or?
Well, that's pretty much what I'm hoping for. I was trying to spread a lot of awareness about this so that people would know that I would be in Ottawa attempting to speak to the Prime Minister, and I've even sent a message out on my profile that got taken down on Facebook, asking people to join me in Ottawa for the date that when it gets chosen, just to take a day off your work, go to Ottawa and protest. Not really protest, but just gather there with me, and we'll have a big rally and stuff like that. Everybody working together. Like, the word protest kind of turns people off a lot, I find.
Just like anarchy. I get that.
But a rally or something like that would definitely be awesome in Ottawa, which I'm trying to do. So I'm not just the only person standing there, that there is other people voicing their concerns as well on the same day. So that's what I'm trying to do, is line that up. And I want to make sure that people know about it before I get to Ottawa, because right now it's been I never know where I'm going to be until I hit the highway down south where I'll have access to vehicles, and then I can pick days and be there on the day that's scheduled. So that's another reason why I thought that out, because I knew I would need a break from my feet, and I knew I'd need to get around to as many places down in southern Ontario as possible to network and speak with others, meet up with people and stuff. So.
Well, I guess what I'm getting at is what I'd like to do is in the future, maybe at that milestone when you do the Parliament and when things really get at their peak, maybe get an interview around that time, and then of course after the tour is all said and done and you're back in the state of rest, getting a debriefing on maybe some of the data points, some of the metrics that you're able to collect about that, and hopefully you are able to get some good feedback from the efforts that you're putting forth in the labor. And maybe do a debriefing interview too. And so I got to tell you just right from the onset, that's what I would like to do. But I definitely want to get you promoted before you hit the road here. So I'm just I should hear from Mark anytime now, and we'll bring you up. Are you going to be around your computer next couple hours?
Yeah, I'll be here for a while there. I think my friends are going to stop by soon. They want to do an interview. The one guy does rap and freestyle stuff, but he wants to do a freestyle about the government and what's going on in the world, so I want to get that on video because I am documenting this for a reality show. I'm going to piece it all together after and look back at it and narrate it and say how I felt along the way, but I got a lot of crazy videos of the injury and just walking here and the people I've met and stuff. So yeah, it's going really well so far, and the main point of this is to spread awareness and meet with people face to face. So that's I've been trying to document that as much as possible. I even went to the Masonic Hall yesterday, and I was knocking on the door trying to see if I could speak to a Mason here in North Bay to ask him about the history of the city and all sorts of things. Yeah, so I'm getting a lot of videos like that, and I'm trying to go right. I've been stopping at Native reservations as well, First Nations, to try to speak to them about their concerns and the problems that they have. But a lot of them don't want to talk on video, and a lot of them seem to not want to even discuss certain issues because it's really touchy for them, and they feel that if they blow the whistle, I guess you could say, that what they've worked to achieve would be taken away from them by the government. Like, a lot of people fear the government, which is what I'm noticing along this trip too, is people don't want to be on camera, they don't want to lose their jobs. So,
well, that's what you're doing.
But it's a good learning
breaking down that fear barrier with your tour.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like I interviewed one girl, and she didn't want to be on camera talking about her job, but we discussed it off camera, and she told me what she does. She works for the government doing statistics, and she was telling me that she had to sign all these forms saying she wouldn't tell any information, and if she does, she'd have severe consequences, and they make you sign all these forms. But she was telling me a lot too about what they do on the inside there, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, it's good to know that information. There is such a good argument that if you are going to have government, that it needs to be transparent, because this whole thing where they wrap up their operations in such secrecy is so terrible, because we pay for it, and we pay for the transparency, because if they're doing something bad, we ought to know about it, and if they're doing something good, we ought to know about it as well, so that we could emulate the good things and discard the bad things. And by wrapping everything up in this veil of secrecy, they stop that process from happening. So even for statists and for proponents of government, which I'm not, but for them, there's so much of an argument about how they run things now versus how they should do it in within the context of freedom in a free society. So it's just maybe at least getting them to come back to the principles of freedom, not necessarily abandoning the idea of government altogether. Now, I have abandoned it personally, but for statists and people who work for the government, such as your friend, getting them to the point to getting them to accept an environment of freedom, to operate under the proxy of government, is an acceptable practice and a standard practice, in place of the secretive practice we have now. This whole thing with national security and all the secrecy is really destroying the societies and cultures. And I really do mean that. It's destroying cultures. And it's important to have diverse and important to have strong culture, because that
big time.
It's a morale thing. Just like in the military, you want to have good morale. Well, culture has to have good morale. Otherwise, you have totalitarian cultures like 1984, where people are depressed and isolated from one another, and it creates for a very dismal society where production is maybe controlled, but so much lower than it could be. Whereas if you have a free society, people collaborate on their, as they see fit and as their interests collide, instead of being so separated and so sanctioned away from one another. So
yeah, you're right, absolutely. But yeah, I should probably get going though, because I got to meet up with my friend there.
Yeah, I don't want to monopolize too much of your time before you leave. I'm sure there's a lot of goodbyes you have to get going. So, Mark, thank you for spending some time with me. And also, I all my Skype stuff, I have a recorder for it. So what I'll do is I'll send you a copy of our discussion. So you can have it for playback, cool. Or if you wanted to share with anyone else.
Yeah, that'd be great for sure. It was definitely a good conversation, I think, and we definitely got to talk again for sure. It won't be the last time, I promise.
Certainly not. In fact, I hope to hear from you tonight to help you set up some software and get you ready before you take off. So whether one way or the other, I'll talk to you later tonight.
Okay.
All right.
Sounds good.
Until then, take care, Mark.
Yeah, you too, Calvin and Chap.